Last week, one of the largest IT outage in history disrupted businesses and governments around the world. The incident, which affected 8.5 million Microsoft Windows devices, led to widespread disruptions of airlines, banks, broadcasters, healthcare providers, retail payment terminals, and even cash machines globally. The disruption was caused by a flaw update to a cloud-based security software, or CrowdStrike, one of the global top cybersecurity companies. The update to the Falcon software triggered a malfunction that disabled parts of the computer system and software like Microsoft Windows. 3 days after the incident, CrowdStrike reported that a significant number of the devices are back online and operational. But the cost of the outage is estimated to top $1 billion, with more than 49 million people affected. But this is just at the tip of the iceberg. And we want to understand and enhance on this situation better. I welcome you. Our guest ready on the line is Eli Sorata, the Director of Cybersecurity and Data Privacy Communications at FTI Consulting, joins me now online to discuss further on this. Eli, from a cybersecurity standpoint, what were the primary vulnerabilities or factors that led to it, and how did it highlight weaknesses in current cybersecurity infrastructure? Especially, how did a single software update bring down half the internet?
Anina, great to be here with you. Thanks for having me. I think that's actually still under investigation. Well, obviously, CrowdStrike has come out and told us a little bit more about what has happened. There will be a significant amount of investigations into the specific steps that got us to where we are today. Like you said, they've already come out and said a significant number of the machines have been updated, which is great to hear. They are in the process of releasing several post-incident reports, but I think getting to the bottom of exactly what the issue is here and exactly what happened is something that will take place over the next couple of weeks.
How did the IT outage affect global economic activities, particularly in key industries such as the finance, healthcare, and even logistics? And which sector were most severely affected by the outage?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that is also somewhat still to be determined. The kind of rollover effect of manufacturing, shipping, logistics, airline outages, while the systems might be back up and planes are back in the sky, kind of the longer term effects, whether that is litigation that comes on the back end of this, whether that is, airlines or manufacturers owing payments to customers or folks further down the supply chain who are looking for reparations, basically, for delayed flights, delayed payments, delayed shippings, etc. That'll all snowball over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what the ultimate cost is. Like you said, financial services and hospitals, different sort of healthcare sector outlets were also significantly affected. Glad to see that those systems are, for the most part, back up and running. They're obviously critical systems for the economy to continue moving forward, but just as the root cause will continue to be investigated, the overall economic impact is still something that will be determined over the next couple of weeks as well.
Maybe you want to check also what are the potential long-term on economic implications of the outage, especially concerning digital transformation and technological advancement.
Yeah, look, the reality is today more than ever, the economy is digital, and we're continuing to weave the digital transformation into every corner of how the world works. And in some ways, this is probably a wake-up call for some who might not consider themselves to be a technology company, that they are very reliant on the technology around them. Look, I think the reality is this won't stop any of the progress that's been made. Folks will continue to look for opportunities to take advantage of technologies that can benefit them and their organization. But it does bring into question how prepared are organizations to respond to any sort of a, we'll call it cybersecurity or data privacy issue. Obviously, CrowdStrike has come out and said this was not a cybersecurity issue, this was a software issue, but at the end result was still the same. And I do think many companies looked around and realized maybe they weren't as prepared as they thought they were to deal with this sort of downtime.
And what's your outlook, Eli? Will there be an increased demand for cybersecurity consulting and services? What advice can you provide to organizations regarding risk management and insurance for cybersecurity incidents?
Yeah, so there's already been quite a bit of conversation, particularly in the ASEAN region, about a talent shortage for cybersecurity professionals. It's a big hiring priority for governments in the region, for private organizations in the region. Obviously, a couple of very large tech companies have recently announced investments into Malaysia's economy to try and build this up. So there will be a continued call for cybersecurity and data privacy professionals. Organizations like FTI help with everything from the preparedness side to incident response, whether that's on the technical side of things, or in my instance, helping organizations communicate with stakeholders, regulators, legislators, customers, etc., in the case of an incident. And I think this software incident in particular highlights the importance of having a robust communications plan in place. I think one of the most frustrating things for folks that maybe found themselves stranded at airports or at other travel locations was simply the lack of information being shared to them. And sometimes that's as simple as, how do you disseminate information to customers when your systems are down, ensuring that all your employees know what their roles are in this instance. But taking it a step back, it's really embedding a culture of cybersecurity within your organization. And that involves getting buy-in from the top, from your board of directors or from your C-suite, all the way down to your frontline employees.
And we want to see this as the global IT outage, showing the cybersecurity flaw and giving effects or economic fallout. How might this event shape future economic policies, particularly in areas related in digital infrastructure and cybersecurity? What long-term changes do you foresee in cybersecurity strategies and data privacy frameworks?
Yeah, I'm not sure that this will necessarily change any of the kind of longer term priorities of governments or regulators around the world and how they're managing these issues. This was obviously a very widespread, software incident, and it was, very, very front page, the somewhat iconic blue screen that was popping up everywhere. But the reality is this is not the first sort of issue that has had a massive effect. There's been issues around the world over the last decade that have had a significant impact on the economy, whether we're talking about the Colonial Pipeline incident or several others in the EMEA and Australia region. The reality is this is not the first time that this has happened, and the reality is that it probably won't be the last time that something like this occurs. Governments, regulators will continue to encourage organizations to have their resiliency plans in place, to consider what their own risk factors are, particularly for critical information infrastructure organizations, or CIIs, which are mandated under a different set of regulations depending where you are in the world, particularly here in the ASEAN region. There'll continue to be an emphasis for them to fortify themselves and to plan for essentially the worst. I think we've seen this as a bit of a wake-up call to some of the organizations that were affected. I would expect to see a lot of them look to implement those sorts of crisis plans in the coming months if they don't already have them.
And talking about cybersecurity protection, this involves investments and money. Can you help us understand the relationship between the cost addressing cybersecurity's flaws and the long-term financial health of an organization?
Absolutely. So cybersecurity is not an IT issue. It is really a bottom line issue. And that's because it can affect everything from obviously operational downtime. If you were to have an operational impact, which obviously affects your bottom line, there's obviously litigation to consider in the instance that there is a data privacy issue. There's regulatory government fines that can be levied depending on the situation. If you're a publicly traded company, obviously shareholders can react in a certain way depending on what the incident is and how you handle it. Within contracts now, there's obviously a lot of kind of private reporting requirements as well that can cost money, and then you're hiring your outside experts to help you kind of weather the storm. So overall, the part of the question is, do you want to spend upfront to help your organization be more prepared, or are you going to end up spending significantly more money to potentially clean something up if you are in a state of unpreparedness later on? you'll hear it throughout the industry. Oftentimes folks use the phrase, it's not a matter of if, but when. And that's just the unfortunate reality of today, which is that there's no organization, there's no sector, there's no geography that is immune from the cybersecurity threats that we're facing.
And what are the economic consequences for the industry that fail to adapt to cybersecurity threats and even regulations?
Yeah, I mean, you will simply see them fall behind the same way that you see folks trying to keep up with the idea of digital transformation. As well as you transform your organization and your industry from a digital standpoint, you also need to adapt to the appropriate cybersecurity standards. If you're the type of organization or type of industry that only works on pen and paper, you may have some efficiency losses, but it's also a lot more difficult to, hack that sort of a company. However, that's just not the reality today, is almost every organization, almost every industry is moving towards a more digital footprint. And in that instance, you also have to adapt your cybersecurity standards. There are standards that are being set across different industries. You're seeing industry organization groups come out with their own sort of guidance depending on the specific threats or issues faced by individual industries. And you're seeing more companies kind of heed that guidance as they're realizing the reality around them.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's quite early and a lot of things is under investigations to identify and under researchers' process to identify what is the real core problem of what happened to the IT global outage. So how can businesses especially balance the cost of managing cybersecurity, of investing in robust cybersecurity, and at the same time measures with the potential economic breach?
Yeah, like I said before, investing in a solid preparedness plan, an all-around preparedness plan, obviously on the technical side, but obviously on the crisis response and communication side as well, is very important. It can save you a lot of money down the line. Creating a culture of cybersecurity from the top to the bottom will help you avoid some of the most obvious pitfalls. Generally, IT teams are very capable. What we're seeing on the back of this sort of an incident is a lot of phishing attempts. And that could be malicious actors or threat actors reaching out, pretending to be an IT professional, saying, hey, we noticed that you were impacted by this global IT outage. My name is so-and-so. I'm working with your IT team to help reboot your systems. Can you just provide me your login information? And I'd be happy to get you sorted. Those are the sorts of kind of very basic and very simplistic attempts that we're seeing around the world. Threat actors are taking advantage of this situation, which is another reason why we say, we're not entirely sure what the total fallout looks like yet. That will be determined in the weeks to come. If I was an organization right now, I would certainly be communicating with my employees that they should stay vigilant for these sorts of phishing attempts. If you're receiving emails that seem illegitimate or like they don't come from the source that they're claiming to be, make sure that you're flagging those for your IT team. Make sure you're not clicking on any links that seem like they're suspicious or you're not sure who the sender is. And just generally be cautious of your surroundings, particularly in times like this, where you see threat actors taking advantage of an unfortunate situation.
All right, I want to say thank you very much to Eli Sorata, the Director of Cybersecurity and Data Privacy Communication, FTI Consulting, for this insightful sharing, and definitely all of our discussion here will be featured in astro.awani.com and across all social media platforms.